The year is 1600. Queen Elizabeth I sits upon the English throne. England, a nation on the rise, seeks new markets and riches beyond its shores. In London, a group of merchants, adventurers, and investors gather. They form a company, not just any company, mind you, but one destined to shape the fate of nations, the British East India Company. Initially, this enterprise consists of just 125 shareholders. Their ambitions, however, know no such limitations. They set their sights on the East, a land of fabled wealth and exotic spices. These early investors dreamed of peppercorns and cloves, nutmeg and mace. These spices, highly prized in Europe, promised immense profits. The East Indies, a vast archipelago in Southeast Asia, held the key to this lucrative trade. Driven by this ambition, the company secured a royal charter. This powerful document granted them a monopoly over English trade in the East. With this royal blessing, the company set sail, ready to stake its claim in the world. Few could have predicted the seismic impact this fledgling company would have. What began as a commercial venture driven by the pursuit of profit would transform into something far more profound. The East India Company, through ambition, ruthlessness, and a healthy dose of historical circumstance, would come to rule over millions. This is the story of how a trading company became an empire. The East India Company's early voyages were fraught with peril. The journey to the East Indies, a voyage of many months, was dangerous and arduous. Ships battled storms, disease, and the ever-present threat of piracy. Yet the allure of profit proved a powerful motivator. The company persevered, establishing trading posts in the Spice Islands. These outposts, known as factories, became centers of commerce. These early interactions with the East were not solely focused on spices. The company soon realized the vast potential of other goods. Silks from China, tea from Japan, and textiles from India found eager markets back in England. The company's ships, laden with these exotic treasures, returned home, bringing immense wealth to the company and its investors. Success, however, bred competition. The East Indies, a region of immense strategic importance, became a battleground for European powers. The Portuguese, Dutch, and French all vied for control of this lucrative trade. The English, through the East India Company, found themselves embroiled in this struggle. Naval battles, political intrigue, and shifting alliances became the norm. The company, forced to adapt, began to arm its ships and recruit soldiers. What started as a purely commercial enterprise was evolving into something far more powerful and dangerous. The East India Company's focus gradually shifted towards India. This vast subcontinent, a land of immense wealth and diverse kingdoms, offered even greater opportunities than the Spice Islands. The Mughal Empire, then at the height of its power, controlled much of India. The company, seeking to secure trading privileges, established its first factory in Surat in 1612. This marked the beginning of their long and tumultuous relationship with India. The company's presence in India was not without its challenges. Local rulers, wary of the company's growing influence, often resisted their encroachments. Rival European powers, particularly the French, posed a constant threat. The French East India Company, backed by the French crown, sought to establish its own dominance in the region. This rivalry would escalate into open warfare, with the fate of India hanging in the balance. The company, forced to navigate this complex web of alliances and rivalries, adopted a shrewd and often ruthless approach. They exploited divisions among Indian rulers, playing one against the other to their advantage. They raised their own armies, composed of both European and Indian soldiers, known as sepoys, and crucially, they were not afraid to use force to achieve their objectives. This combination of diplomacy, military might, and cunning would prove to be a potent formula for success. Section 4. Fortunes Fortified. Establishing a foothold in India. The East India Company's factories, initially established as trading posts, gradually transformed into fortified settlements. These forts, armed with cannons and manned by company troops, served a dual purpose. They protected the company's valuable goods and served as bases of power from which to project their influence. As the company's power grew, so too did the size and strength of their fortifications. The company's growing military presence did not go unnoticed by the Mughal emperors. The once mighty Mughal Empire, weakened by internal strife and external threats, was in decline. The company, sensing an opportunity, began to assert itself more forcefully. They intervened in local disputes, siding with rulers who granted them favorable trading terms. This gradual shift from merchants to kingmakers marked a turning point in the company's history. Section 5. The cannon's roar from Plassey to dominance. The year 1757 proved to be a pivotal year in the history of the East India Company. The Battle of Plassey, fought between the company's forces and the army of Siraj-ud-Dowlah, the Nawab of Bengal, would have far-reaching consequences. The battle itself was a relatively short affair, lasting just a few hours. However, its outcome would reshape the political landscape of India. The company's victory at Plassey, achieved through a combination of superior tactics and the treachery of Siraj-ud-Dowlah's own generals, was decisive. It established the company as the dominant power in Bengal, one of the wealthiest regions in India. Control of Bengal's resources, particularly its lucrative textile trade, provided the company with immense wealth and influence. This victory marked a turning point, signaling the company's transition from a trading company to a major military and political force. From their base in Bengal, the company continued to expand its influence. Further victories against Indian rulers, combined with shrewd diplomacy and strategic alliances, consolidated their position. By the late 18th century, the East India Company had become the paramount power in much of India. Their rule, however, was far from secure. Resentment amongst the Indian populace, fueled by the company's exploitative practices, was growing. The seeds of rebellion were being sown.